Hello, and greetings from the Discovery. I'm Mat Sinclair, the President and CEO here at the museum, and the last time I reached out to you via one of these video messages was last June. And today I wanted to take a moment and provide you with some updates of what's happened here at the Discovery since then, to thank you for your continued support and share with you a little bit about what to expect in the weeks and months to come here at the museum. Since June, we were successful in launching our summer camp program and had a very successful 8 weeks of camp. It was a very different summer of camps with a heavily modified program from what we have done before. We took into consideration recommendations from the American Camp Association and also some input from our colleagues all around the country who were grappling with the effects of COVID-19 and trying to figure out how to operate safe and fun and educational camp programs. And I'm pleased to share with you that after 8 weeks, we saw almost 800 students come through our program. So we ran at about 98% capacity. And we did that with virtually, well, not virtually, we did that with no issues to our knowledge of any students or staff or family members of our students with any COVID-19 related issues. So camps was very successful. Also in June, the governor rolled out his phased approaches to reopening, and specifically in phase 2 allowed museums to reopen. However, in his language, he specifically detailed that interactive and hands-on exhibitions were strictly prohibited in phase 2. Obviously, that constitutes the majority of the guest experience here at the museum, so it left us and the Children's Museum in Las Vegas out of the opportunity to return to full operations in phase 2. So, working with Melissa Kaiser at the Children's Museum in Las Vegas, she and I put our plans together and presented them to the Governor's Advisory Council, showing that our protocols, procedures, and restrictions on visitors in the building were actually far more restrictive than other businesses that were allowed to operate under phase 2, and more restrictive than the governor's guidelines. And after a little bit of back and forth, we received a variance in phase 2 and were given the green light to open our institutions to visitors. So on July 4th, we started to welcome back visitors to the museum. Our plan was to be open on the weekends only until demand dictated that we needed to feather back in weekdays to our operations. That also allowed us to continue to operate a very controlled environment for our camp program. Normally during the summertime, our campers are in our classroom spaces and limited in their movement about the building because we also have visitors in the building. This summer, Monday through Friday, our camp program had the entire facility to run and operate, and that allowed us to keep our students safe and in small groups, and we were able to stay in front of all the cleaning protocols and procedures. So it was a great method for running our program. And then the weekends, we started to welcome back visitors. We ran that way through the entire summer, and interestingly enough, on July 4th, visitors that did come to the museum were treated to a traveling exhibition that we had pre-planned and funded for the summertime called Matter Splatter, albeit a somewhat unfortunate exhibit name. Matter Splatter was a material science exhibition and was actually really timely in terms of some of the content in the exhibition. We had that exhibit through the entire summer, and like I said, visitors had a reason to come in and participate in that exhibition, and it left us at the end of summertime. Also during the summer, in late July, we started to prepare for the fall and the start of the school year, and it became very apparent that we were not going to see the normal level of field trips in the building, if at all, any field trips in the building during the fall. And so our education team started to think about, how do we serve our community this fall? How do we serve our students this fall? And that's why I'm pleased to share with you that we have launched this hybrid distance learning program, working in conjunction with Washoe County School Districts, private schools, charter schools all throughout our area, principals, teachers, family members. We created a program that in essence allows any student who's engaging in at-home distance learning can instead come here to the museum and do the same thing. So work with our education staff, bring their device or use one of our own to log on to their school portals, do their distance learning under the guidance of our education team. And then when their school day is completed, whatever that looks like for each student, they then have the opportunity to engage with the rest of our education staff in interactive hands-on learning in small groups, pulling from curriculum from our field trip program and our summer camp program. So in effect, enhancing their learning experiences and giving mom and dad a place to put their children during the school day that isn't at home if they're stuck working at home, or for those that have returned to the office, there's an opportunity. That program runs for elementary and middle school students. We have generous support from the Pennington Foundation and a few other of our significant donors to provide financial assistance. So really, price is not a barrier to participation, and that program is set up to be an a la carte kind of model. So parents can sign up day of or even night before for the next day and adjust their schedules accordingly. The other piece of news is that at the end of August, we came to the conclusion that we were seeing about 20% of normal attendance levels in the museum in terms of general visitation. The good news of that number is that's on par with what science museums are seeing nationwide. We belong to a museum consortium called Aztec, the Association of Science and Technology Centers, and basically science museums from all over North America were reporting their data and information into Aztec. They were sharing that back out with member institutions. And almost to a member, it doesn't matter museum size or the market size, pretty consistently, all of us were seeing 20% of normal. So by industry standards, we were right on the mark. Unfortunately, 20% of normal is not a sustainable level of revenue and income for us to operate without a significant loss. And so at the end of August, I made the decision to temporarily suspend visitation to the museum and put our time and attention towards our distance learning program and some other efforts that we're currently engaged in. The good news is that we are returning to operations this fall in October, specifically October 3rd through the 11th. We will open during the Washoe County fall break, all 9 days. The museum will be open, and then our plan is to return to a weekend-only model for a period of time, again, until demand necessitates that we move back into a 6 or 7 day a week situation. The other piece that I wanted to share with you is that we've been doing some significant financial forecasting and modeling for what to expect going forward into the future. My principal responsibility is to ensure that the investment you have made in the Discovery and so many others have made is well guarded, and that the Discovery survives the pandemic. The term survival, I think, is one that we've heard a lot of, and I think you've heard from other institutions that they are already in a position where they're concerned about completing this calendar year in operations. I'm pleased to share with you, thanks in large part to your generosity, the Discovery is well positioned to navigate the rest of the pandemic, however long that takes us, and emerge on the other side of this. Currently, where we sit is looking at the entire scope of this calendar year. We had embarked on a goal of raising $1.5 million for general operating support to keep the institution whole and to position us going into next fiscal year. As of today, we have raised 1.1 of that $1.5 million. So again, my deepest thanks to all of you who have helped make that happen. $400,000, approximately $400,000 of that has been in new donations. Another $700,000 or so has been the result of restrictions on existing gifts that were lifted and allowed us to reallocate those funds to our resiliency fund. And all of that came from more than 650 unique donors. And so we have been the beneficiary, once again, of the generosity of this community. And we cannot thank you enough for that support. we feel confident in our ability to navigate the rest of this fiscal year and be in a position to transition into next fiscal year and slowly but surely wind back up to a more full level of operations. So what's next? Again, we will be reopening the museum for general visitation October 3rd through the 11th. That's the Washoe County fall break. We will be selling advanced ticketing so we can control the total population in the building at any given time per our operating procedure that's been approved through the governor's office. We have extended our memberships, all of our existing member households who have not been able to utilize their membership. We have done an extension of their memberships in recognition of the reality that they were not able to utilize that, and as a means to thank them and continue to engage them with the museum. Our hybrid distance learning program continues to grow by the day. We have the capacity to serve upwards of 90 students a day. We're not quite at that mark yet, so still looking for support and encouragement in spreading the word in our community and driving up our registration rates in that program. And for those of you that are regulars or always excited about our annual fall fundraisers, Chemistry of the Cocktail, this year, in light of the pandemic and the operating restrictions, obviously a big party in the museum in November didn't seem prudent or likely. So we have decided that this year, in lieu of Chemistry of the Cocktail, we will provide instead a science variety show, and we've worked with the folks at Sinclair Broadcasting and the NBC and Fox affiliates. And in November, we will have a half-hour commercial-free segment that will air multiple times on those stations, and we'll double down also as a fundraiser for the Discovery. And you will hear and learn more details about that, but I got to tell you, it's going to be a pretty exciting half an hour of television to tune in for. So again, I just wanted to take this opportunity to share with you some updates. We'll come back to you again in a few more weeks with some more updates. But I want to again extend my deepest thanks for your continued support and generosity to the museum. And I would ask that if you have the ability to continue to make gifts in this fiscal year, those are still needed and very much appreciated. But also, we would ask that you share our story with others. We continue to find ourselves in the opportunity to meet new people, to welcome new donors to the organization, and to share our story. And your help in doing that is so very much appreciated. And then finally, we haven't seen many of you in a very long time, other than video or spoken with you on the phone. If you're so inclined and you feel comfortable to do so, we would love to see you when we open back up to general visitation in October. And if you're interested in chatting and connecting a little bit more, please feel free to reach out to me or to any member of our development team, and we'd be happy to set up a time. So thank you again for all your support, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Take care.